Well, a very good morning from the frigid wilds of South Lanarkshire. It's quite boggy. I am just at the small village of Whiston, which is a few miles west of Biggar, so just west of the border with the borders. And today I'm heading up Tinto. It is proper cold this morning. It's about -6 here, according to my car. But coming through, I was driving through from Fife and coming through on the road to Lanark. There's a dip there where there was lots of fog, and it was down to -9, so it is cold. But sadly, all of this fell after, well, it fell overnight from Christmas Day into Boxing Day, all this snow. And Christmas Day was quite, well, fairly mild, but it rained for about 24 hours. So the ground underneath all this is mush. And then it froze quickly afterwards, so it's mush with a crust. So you can't trust it entirely, sadly. Anyway, mush or not, crusty or not, it's lovely. It's quite sheltered down here. There's a savage northerly wind again. It's going to be brutal up on top, I suspect. But it's quite nice down here just now. The sun's not yet up. I thought I'd make a nice early start, getting up at 5:30, which I haven't done in a long time, actually. It's been a long time since I've felt motivated to get on the road and be walking for at least sort of 8 o'clock, 8:15, which is what I always used to do back in the day. These days, getting old, I really can't be arsed getting up that early, but I thought it was worth it for, you know, how you get the sort of that pinkness, that early morning light after there's been snow. I thought it was worth doing. Plus, even though it is the Christmas period, people are back at work today, and it's not much fun going around Edinburgh and over the Forth Bridge at rush hour. So I thought I'd avoid that as well. I'm quite surprised, thinking about it on the way here. I think this is the first video blog I've done south of the Central Belt, south of the Forth, not including the islands, of course, because they're quite far south, but like Isla. But yeah, I think this is actually the first one I've done down south. And I used to come down here a lot. I used to come down to the southern uplands, which this is all this along here. I used to come here quite regularly when I stayed in Edinburgh, but ever since I've been in Fife, that bridge is such a mental obstacle. Just don't go over it. Plus, because I work in West Lothian and I commute over the bridge every day, it's the last thing you want to do on your day off is follow your commuting route, I guess. So I haven't really come down here. But it's nice to be back. Interestingly, there are only 2 sets of prints coming up here, which I know I'm surprised about and I'm not surprised about. This isn't the typical way of climbing Tinto. Normally you come up from, there's a huge car park on the main road to the north, and there's essentially a motorway that goes up the hill, a big wide track, and you just motor up. And it's a fine way of ascending. It's just very busy, and I dare say it would have been. I know people were up here yesterday. I saw people's photos. So the snow's going to be compacted, and it might not be the nicest conditions. So I would have come from this side anyway, because it's sheltered on the ascent. Probably going to get the sun shortly because it's south facing, and it's likely to have be holding a bit more snow and be quieter, and that's certainly the case here. In fact, people's prints have pretty much disappeared now. This isn't my first time up here. I think the first time I came up, actually the first time I tried to come up, I think it was in one of those really cold winters, 2008 or 9. And we tried to come up this way actually, and only got as far as those trees because the snow was so deep. Didn't have snowshoes with me. I really would have needed them in that really snowy winters we had. So abandoned that attempt and then came back a couple of times actually. Most recently in early 2010, summer 2010 I think. So it's been 7 years since I've been here. Sun's coming up. It's been up for a while, just that low bank of cloud is obscuring it a little. But it's about to get a lot brighter. As I say, it's part of the benefit, the advantage of coming up this side is you're in the sun. Coming up the north side, you're definitely in the shade. And windier. Oh, this is exactly what I was wanting. This is a little bit special. Just a beautiful view down the Clyde Valley. You can see the Clyde down there, that silveriness. Very nice. It's funny, it's the Lowman Hills back home, they got a bit of a sprinkling on Christmas Day into Boxing Day. But somewhere, some lucky place always gets in a sweet spot, and in this case it was sort of from the Pentlands. Even Edinburgh got a dusting. Had a white Christmas officially. But for Edinburgh South, Pentlands. So I was going to head north today in search of a nice snowy walk, but in terms of having a nice sugary fresh snow, it's not often the case, but south was better. As you can see. I should probably take some time just to appreciate this. It's quite deceptive, it's so still here. You just know it's going to be brutal once you get up there. Oh well, no sooner as the sun come out than we'd have to remove a layer. You know, I sure would have been disappointed if I'd gone to the Highlands today, the Southern Highlands, because there's going to be snow showers feeding in. And there hasn't been that much snow. It's, I think if you've watched the last few video blogs, you'd probably be forgiven for thinking that it's just been continuously cold and snowy. And it really hasn't. After that last one at Craig and Darragh, Ballister, it did get mild again for about a week. But then we did get almost a 2-week cold spell. And that's probably the longest cold spell we've had since March 2013, I think. Everything was freezing over. Everything came in on a northerly wind though, which is great for the Highlands and the Cairngorms and for favoured places down on the east coast. But a north wind isn't good for Fife or the Lothians or Edinburgh, Pentlands, even the Oak Hills. Because a northerly sort of, you get the showers all coming off the sea and the Cairngorms swallow it all up. So by the time these clouds reach us in Fife, there's nothing left. In fact, there aren't any clouds, to be honest. There's never any clouds. It's usually, if you get a northerly, the perfect, beautiful blue sky weather in Fife comes. Very cold, very crisp, very clear, very lovely, very cold. But no snow, for the most part. So it's funny, it's sort of, you can't be disappointed, because there were people moaning. I saw people moaning on weather forums saying how boring the weather was. It was just people sort of in Lanarkshire who were getting just cold, dry, settled conditions but no snow, while everybody else up north was getting a lot. They say how boring it was, but I think people forget just how miserable the last few winters have been in terms of how wet they've been and how wet the autumn's been and part of the summer. All too quickly we forget. So I was delighted actually. I mean, because there was no snow, there was a lot of frost forming and everything, lots of hoarfrost. So there's some exquisite crystal formations of hoarfrost and just other sorts of frost as well. Amazing ice crystals forming, which was so that's what I spent the best part of 2 weeks that cold spell doing, was crawling around the floor with my camera, taking pictures of incredible ice formations on the jetty at work, on the loch, and on other ponds and lochans and that around West Lothian and Fife. So I had a lovely time. But it wasn't snowy, not here, not in Fife anyway. I did manage to get one snowy walk out of it though. I went up Benvironment, which is pretty much the southern extent. The Trossachs was the southern extent pretty much of where it got snow. The dusting on the Oak Hills. I went up Benvironment, that was an incredible day. Actually, I went again brutally cold in that northerly wind. But that was memorable, stunning day, beautiful conditions. The hill looked amazing, but mostly it's cosmetic, just a superficial dusting, and all that snow, all that prep work, all that groundwork that had been put in November and December. Lots of snow and the ground cooling down, prepping it for sort of holding the snow when it comes, freezing up. We had a week of mildness again, wind, rain, and it's all gone. All that snow in the cairngorms, the foot or whatever they had of snow, it's all gone. And it's gone very mild and mushy again. So we haven't yet had the crazy mildness, I don't think, really, that we have as some years. Usually it's mild with a few cold blips. So far the story has been cool with mild blips. And we hope that continues, because like I said in one of the last vlogs, you can be lulled into a false sense of security when you get snow front-ended in the winter, and especially in November time, it seems that always ends badly. So now everyone's sort of, it's too early to, get despair. We're not even in January. This is the 27th of, is it 27th? Yeah, 27th of December. So we're not even a third of the way through the meteorological winter, and of course Scottish winter goes on longer into March and even April on the hills anyway. So it's too early to despair like some people have been doing. There's plenty of time for things to turn around. Well, this might not be the motorway, and it might not be as long a route up to reach the summit, but it is steeper this way. It just zigzags up this prow, and then from memory I can't remember how high, how much further it is after this. It's not a huge hill. It's 700, well, it's open to debate actually what its height is. It's 707 metres if you take the actual top of, where the ground finishes. There's a massive cairn on top, one of the biggest hilltop cairns in Scotland, Bronze Age cairn, and that raises it to 711 metres apparently. So you'll see two figures banded about for the height of Tinto. I'll take either way. It's a Graham, just over 700 metres, and it's the highest thing around here. You'll see it referred to as being the highest hill in central Scotland, which isn't quite true. Depends where you put your definition, I suppose, but certainly between the Southern Highlands and the Southern Uplands, I think that is true. Because once you go over there, once you go past Coulter Fell, which is that one over there, can't see it just yet. It's a bit too bright or a bit too foggy, but Broad Law's over there, and that's a Corbett, so that's bigger. That's over 800 metres. Tinto is it's fairly unique in that it stands all by itself. It's an outlier of the Southern Uplands. Geologically, it's more a continuation of the Pentlands. Certainly, if you've traced the line of the Pentlands northeast to southwest, eventually it runs to Tinto as well. So it's kind of in that line. But it does stand all by itself. It's not part of a ridge, and as such, as you'd expect from a hill that stands in splendid isolation, it has an incredible view. I don't know how far we'll be able to see today. It looks fairly clear. You tend to get the better views first thing in the morning, and when the sun's starting to set, I suppose, don't you? Sunrise and sunset tend to be the best times. I'm following. I know I can take any route up here really. The path I was following just kind of petered out into nothing, but oh well. Here's another one. They all lead to the top eventually. But the view is immense, and every time I've been up here I've been blessed with astonishing views. You can see all the way to the lakes, to the Lake District, to Helvellyn and High Street. You can see Arran, Ailsa Craig. North you can see it's about 90 miles I think to Loch na Gar and the Cairngorms, over by Ballaser. And southwest, you can see all the way to Antrim in Northern Ireland. It's a massive view. It's an astonishing view, in fact, from the top. Fingers crossed. I've been every which way up this hill, I think, over the years. The last time, I think I came up over these ones over here, because it's not just a lump. It does have sort of lumps attached to it. It's got sort of lesser tops. You see it on the OS maps. I think it calls it the Tinto Hills. I think they do refer to it as a range of hills. But essentially it's just one big massif. And I just know it's going to come as a shock after having this nice quiet and solitude. To emerge onto the summit, it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be busy. Well, there's a lot more up than I remember there being. It's up there. And the snow's not really deep, but it's deep enough to make me wish I brought snowshoes. When will I ever learn? Right. Well, this is actually much better than I was expecting. I knew that, I mean, it hasn't been much snow, but really you don't need much, do you, to just give you that sense of being in the high hills and of an Arctic wilderness, especially with all this stuff blowing around. It really is looking the part, isn't it? Now that we're getting higher, we're really starting to feel this opening up. Starting to get a sense as you get higher on Tinto, just, you know, something about the isolation it stands in. The higher you get, everything seems to open up. Aha! Well, I reached the top sooner than I was expecting, actually. But then, like I say, Tinto's not that large. Well, here we are, top of Tinto, and it is surely one of the biggest views in Scotland, in the whole of the country, surely. I can see for miles, and the views are just incredible. It's really clear out east. Out that way, we're looking all the way to the Pentlands. Over here, very distinctive. Just see West Kips sticking up over there as well, and of course that goes all the way west into West Lothian, going into Lanarkshire. Out in front of us We've got the Ochils on the horizon right in the distance, and then you can see all the way to Stubin and Benmore, Ben Lawes, all the way into Glasgow and beyond to Ben Lomond, and Arran is over there somewhere. And then we've got this majestic view south of the southern uplands, and when you see them in this relief with snow, you sort of realise what a bumpy sort of place it is. It's really a very hilly place, the southern uplands. Great walking country. It's amazing how much snow there is, considering, I mean, I can see West Lomond and East Lomond, I can see the Lomond Hills in Fife all the way over there, and it's just brown and black. It's snowless. We completely missed out. It just seems like the whole country otherwise, certainly to the south, carpeted. I really, honestly, it's that brutally cold. I can barely even open my eyes to see what you can see on the camera. But I don't know whether you can see that over there. I mean, it's Glasgow. You can see sort of all the high rise in Glasgow over here. I'll zoom in. I can't see what's on the screen. It's too bright. Maybe you'll be able to see it. Don't know if you can see that or not. Oh my god, my fingers are cold. I don't even know if it's focusing. All right, I'm gonna go and seek some shelter, I think. Oh my god. There've been a few people coming and going on the summit, but no one's staying long. Most people, everyone's wearing black for some reason. I think it's fell runner type people coming up today. They all just come up, take a picture and run down again. There are a few guys sat down there just now, but it is cold. It's really cold. Oh man. These are cairns that have been sort of gouged out of the big summit cairn. It's about 6 meters high, 40 something meters in diameter. It's huge. It's a huge cairn, a huge Bronze Age. I think it was a burial cairn, but it's all of this. Essentially all of this in front of you. A big cairn, one of the biggest in the country. Wow. Great. Love this stuff as well. See where the rime goes on these fences. Immense view. I just can't get over it. I mean, I've been very lucky when I come up here. It's been in summer and it's been green, obviously, and I've had really good visibility. But this is astonishing. Wow. Well, I'm on my way down. The way I came, in fact. I was going to go a slightly different way down, sort of further over that way, but it was so nice with the snow coming up this way, I thought I may as well just go back the way I came. Plus, it's very nice and quiet down here. I sat at the top for about, I don't know, half an hour maybe, while various people came and went. And it was really busy. It's a popular hill. You forget when you come up from this side just what a popular hill it is, because there's no one else has been up here. It's only my tracks that I'm following on the way down. No one else has been up here. Sat at the top there though, I did find for a spell, I mean, I was quite amazed I managed to find anywhere that was completely out of the wind. Lay back on a part of the cairn. I wouldn't go so far as to say I started kipping, but it was quite relaxing. I had lots of warm clothes on and it was completely out of the wind. It's often the way, if you can feel sometimes that it's impossible to get out of the wind, but if you lie down on the snow, provided you're well insulated, because that can be quite cold in itself, but if you lie down really close to the ground, you can get out the wind a lot of the time. So that was really nice sat there with the sun. Sadly, all this lovely snow, which is really powdery because it's been so cold and it fell when it was sub-zero, it's going to be here another day. maybe 2, and then we're going to have another thaw. Not to the same extent, we're not going to have double figures this time, I don't think, but even so, it's going to be a thaw back up to about 600 or 700 metres, which is a shame to lose it all. It's always 1 step forward, 2 steps back, it seems, with Scottish winter. Actually, it's getting warmer again now. I've completely lost the path, but it doesn't really matter when there's this much snow, does it? You can pick your route. Just don't really want this day to end. It's lovely. Look at this. It's just one of those days when you feel like you're getting your the whole winter's worth dose of vitamin D. Somebody was telling me, I know there's people in Scotland who are deficient in vitamin D because there's that little sunlight during the winter, and I thought it could be sort of counteracted to an extent by getting out and having days like this, and I thought maybe that counteracts any sort of deficiency you get, but apparently it's not. Somebody was telling me, I don't know if this is right, but somebody was telling me it's not. It doesn't really matter how long you're out for necessarily. It doesn't matter if you've got a job like mine, a ranger job where you're outside every day getting what little sunshine there is. It's about the strength of the sun apparently, and it has to be of a certain strength, the sun, in order to actually get your skin, your skin to produce, your body to produce vitamin D or something. I think somebody was telling me that. I don't know if it's right or not. I'd like to think that just the reflected glare off the snow, I can feel it. I can feel that warmth. I'd like to think that maybe that counts for something. And if you're actually out in the snow, if you're one of those people that gets out and about during the winter a lot, I'd like to think that means you are getting maybe a bit more than you would otherwise get just by the glare off the snow. I'd like to think so. I mean, it seems logical to me, but I don't know whether that's the case or not. I did read somewhere else actually, they said once your shadow is the same length, the same height as you essentially on the ground, sort of exactly the same length at right angles, if it's any longer than that, if it's taller than you, if it's longer on the ground than you are tall, then the sun's not strong enough to produce vitamin D, apparently. I don't know if that's true. I'm just waffling now. It is certainly nice and warm here. We're sheltered with the sun reflecting off all this stuff. Could just as well have sat down here for the whole afternoon. It's so nice. It's quite an unusual thing, isn't it, in the winter, feeling warm when you're out and about, but it happens quite easily when the snow's down. Getting that glow off it. Ooh. It's been really nice coming back to this part of the world after quite a long absence. Like I say, I did stop coming because I moved. I moved the other side of the bridge. But also, I used to come walking in this valley quite a lot. But then, you'll be able to see it, they built the Clyde wind farm, which is, well, it's all the way along here actually, all along this ridge, all the way along, and it keeps going all the way along there and goes back a considerable way. Was it 100 and something turbines, I forget. It's the one that when you drive down the M74, it's the one you drive past near near Elvenfoot on your way to Moffat if you're heading south. And I used to go walking in the Lowther Hills, which are way over there, and some of these hills over here, and especially Coulterfell over there, and there's a wonderfully named Gather Snow Hill over there. I've done some good snowshoeing around here, but ever since that was built, it just doesn't. It's just lost its appeal to me. I mean, some people don't have a problem with wind turbines in formerly wild places. Each to their own, but certainly I don't go walking in this part of the Southern Uplands anymore because I don't get that feeling of being away from it all when there's industry nearby. It's not to say that industry and wind farms or whatever don't have a place in certain places. Certainly a lot of it in Fife, which I don't have a problem with because that's where the population is. But when I go walking, I don't really want, like a lot of people, don't really want obvious man-made industrial developments, I suppose. I think part of the joy is getting away from that kind of thing. So it has its place. It's needed to a greater or lesser extent, depending on your point of view. And I know that there's all kinds of studies bandied about by different people saying how it does or does not impact upon tourism. There's reports that go either way, quite frankly. But certainly, speaking personally, there's some places up in Sutherland and this sort of thing here. I don't go to these places anymore. I go elsewhere where it's still wild. So if one person's avoiding an area because of industrial development, I'm sure other people are. But by the same token, I'm sure there's people who don't really care either way. It's just the beautiful variety of human existence. Anyway, it is a lovely part of the country, Southern Uplands, and underrated. Most people sort of scurry north, especially if you're coming up from down south. People sort of don't tend to stop in the Southern Uplands or Dumfries and Galloway, places like that. People just carry on up the motorway all the way up to the Highlands, to the big hills, to the Munros, which is a shame. It's like the other week with the Ramblers. I was up in the Eildon Hills for the very first time. Never been up them before. Been wanting to go up for a very long time, and I was waiting for the perfect day to do it. And Eildon Ramblers put on a walk for my benefit, in fact, bless them, and had an amazing day. And these are just small hills, you know, not 400 metres maybe. So there's amazing walking to be had in the Borders and this part of the world. Getting into Lanarkshire, you could do a lot worse than drive south instead of north if you're in the Central Belt. Still can't quite get over just how quiet this side of the hill is compared to that side. When I was stood at the top, there was somebody coming up the hill every 2 or 3 minutes. There's no one here. Nobody. I'm the only one that's come up. I know people do come up from this side, and certainly Walk Highlands has it as a possible option. Well, you know, they've got routes from the north and the south, so it is a route that, you know, a way that people do come up. It baffles me sometimes why everyone chooses the most popular way up. I don't know, maybe it's is it just me that prefers to have a bit of quiet on the hillside? I don't know, some people, I'm assuming some people just don't mind, just don't care when they sort of find lots of people on the hill. I mean, I'm not seriously expecting there to be nobody on hillsides, you know. That's the whole point, is to get out and enjoy it. Everyone should. But I think just with being a bit creative and a bit just taking the time to look at a map, I suppose, rather than just seeing a route. I mean, these days you just get a route, you put it in your app or whatever, and that's it. It tells you exactly where to go. Just it pays to get a map out and just look at more inventive ways up a hill that's going to give you a bit of quiet. And like I say, looking at this track here, if you'd had 50 people coming up, it would be compacted down and slippy into ice and would refreeze overnight and be a nightmare for the next day. So yeah, be inventive.